There we go.
Get over here.
I
Oh,
love the
you know what
style.
it is. You're afraid because I'm the big bad wolf, the
It's
villain of every
this is
story.
DreamWorks.
And this is the crew: Miss Tarantula, Mr. Shark, Mr. Piranha, Mr. Snake.
Everyone copy.
Copy, 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 copy. We're the bad guys.
It's crime time, baby. Shark. We need a distraction.
Do I get to improvise? Fine.
So many good moments.
I'm having a baby. Is there a doctor?
I love the timing of this.
Could leave their post and help me.
It does.
Never given a chance to be anything more than criminals. But these are the cards we've been dealt, so we might as well play them.
It does have a little bit of a Spider-Verse feeling in the sense that it's very stylized.
Here, let me help you. Are you okay, ma'am?
Thank you, dear. You're such a good boy.
Wait, what?
I'm the bad guy.
I love how the tail drags him around.
All good, brother? All good, yeah. You ever wonder what it'd be like if the world wasn't scared of us? Never gonna happen. Guys, we're good.
Such good animation. The facial expressions, oh,
You villains have an image
so good.
problem.
And I love the stylization of it.
Well, there goes our street cred.
I'm tired of being an outcast. Maybe I don't want to be a what? A bad guy?
The timing on the what, that's something I definitely want to take a look at.
They're the only friends I've ever had.
You have a chance to write your own story. What have you got to lose?
I don't know. My dignity?
Yeah, well, that ship has already sailed.
So you're a tough guy, like it really rough.
That car slide, that was beautiful.
I'll rescue them.
You've never volunteered for anything.
Oh. Come on, Snake, open up.
Relax. These doors are complicated.
Are you kidding
We're
me?
supposed to save them, not eat them.
Well, I'd say they've gone to a better place.
On that bad side,
One thing I'm gonna mention this later, but oh, the timing on that flip, so good, so good.
I'm the bad guy.
I'm really excited for this film. Really, really excited. So one thing that I really love about this is a lot of this film revolves around the group, at least from what it seems. Like there's a lot of scenes with the group together. And they do such a great job of creating compositions that work with this group that make it very easy to focus on them, and they don't just feel boringly laid out. I'm going to point that out as we go, but I just wanted to mention it right off the start. Pay attention to the way they group everyone together. It's really well done. Now, the spider is just adorable. I love all the characters. They really, one thing I love is that they didn't fall into the typical design choices. And I don't mean this in a bad way. This is more just that you usually have a very specific style that most films tend to follow. And this happens with movies, with TV shows, with anything. It's kind of like how Lord of the Rings, they made this concept of high fantasy, of the like very intricate armor, of elves that are very graceful and whatnot, and everyone else copied that. If you think about it, fantasy before that, especially if you remember the old 80s fantasy, it was a very different kind of fantasy film. It was not this like grungy yet ornate feeling. It was kind of simpler and a little bit more abstract in a lot of ways. Now, almost everyone does the Lord of the Rings. It's the same with animation. Pixar created a certain style, and for many, many years, people followed that style. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the limits of technology kind of made it so that you had to stick to certain ways of doing things. But now the technology is expanding, and we are seeing more ways of rigging, more ways of pushing rendering, of stylization of characters. I love that we're seeing shows that push those design elements, push the way a rig can be moved and the animation can be seen. It is so cool. And Spider-Verse, Lego Movie, the Peanuts movie, those were all kind of the precursors to a lot of this. So that's something I'm just that alone, I'm super excited for. I'm so into this movie just to see how they animate these characters and move them and they show them to the world. Now, as we go here, one thing I really love, and this is kind of going to that stylization, is right here where he gets really angry. It's a little detail, but they add this little line to the outside of the eye. Again, that starts to feel like 2D animation, where in 2D you would add like little stress lines to the forehead or like different little lines to make a character feel more angry or more sad or a different emotion. It would help exaggerate the character a little bit more. We're seeing that in 3D now, and I'm so happy. They add this little line there. They also exaggerate the outline of the character. You suddenly get this dark black outline across the face, like cell shading. But if you look at the rest of the character, it's not on his shirt, not on his head, back here on the right side, over here. And I should point out that with the actual marker because you can't see the mouse cursor. So you can see the difference on both sides there. One is that kind of realistic lighting. The other has this nice, beautiful cell shading, and you're getting these nice speed lines. It's so cool. I love it so much. Oh, your mentor worked on this? That's awesome. Oh yeah, Chad, of course. That's awesome. I hope he had fun working on this. This seems like a project that would be a real blast to work on. I should actually talk to some of my friends who work at DreamWorks and just see how much they enjoyed working on the film, or see if I can get some. They're not going to break any NDAs or anything, but just, what would be the right word I'm looking for? Just get an idea of how they like the film. But oh yeah, this film is, I'm so excited for it. I can't understate enough how excited I am. But as they're going through here, one thing I really love is how fast this expression changes. Now, I will say, I'm assuming there might be actually a little bit of time here that's cut from the actual film to make the trailer just a little sharper. And the reason I say that is if you look at the buildings in the back, see how there's suddenly a jump right here? You can see the building start from right there, and then suddenly it's over here. And the building over here suddenly goes from there to there, and then it's way back behind his head. So there's a spacing jump here. Now, this could be something that was cut for the trailer, because trailers do retime certain things. Or it could just be a cool visual effect that they've done for the show to help speed up this moment. This is actually something I'm excited to see when we see the actual film, the difference between the two. Now, this could also be a scene that's made just for the trailer. Who knows? But what I love about this is how fast things move. It just really hits and makes a nice, strong impact. And if we look at the mouth, they're really getting these really clear shapes through the mouth. Very clear smile right here, then right into this kind of snarl that closes through. We get that nice big cheek puff right here, a drag to the nose, and you really see that silhouette here. This is very important when you're doing cheek puffs, especially when a character is 3/4. You want to see that silhouette change there. If you're not changing that silhouette and just kind of exaggerating on this side but not that side, the one that we see the shape change on, it's not going to read correctly. So this is great. You even see it just a little bit right there. And then from there, look at how the silhouette suddenly changes over one frame. We go really big and then gone. Because the moment you open your mouth, when you've got that kind of pocket of air for B's or P's or things like that, your cheeks just relax and sink back in. So, gone. And look how fast the corner of the mouth goes out. So we're looking at the corner, comes in, it dips down. So it's kind of doing this arc right here, around, and then down and over. it's going from close to the end of his nose all the way to his eye in one frame. And then it keeps expanding a little bit more before it overshoots and comes back. And as he's kind of closing his mouth, you can see it relax just a little bit right there. Now, when you're doing anthropomorphic characters like this, they've got a snout. Their whole mouth is much longer than ours. So you have more range to play with that. But if the mouth is wider and longer and they're still getting this really sharp speed, with our mouth that is definitely not nearly as long, we can do the same thing. We can get that same speed. You can go from a mouth that's really tight and small to as wide as you can in like 2 frames. And that's okay. Mouths, especially when you're doing plosives like this, B's, P's, like a P sound or a B. So you close it for the B and B, go out into the E sound. That can be super fast. Look at that. 2 frames. And then an overshoot. And it feels so good. Now, as well, they're really pushing the mouth shape. So getting this nice corner right up there. And you can see that corner keeps stretching up and then around slightly. So it's not just up in one direction, down in the same direction. It goes up and then around very slightly. When you can do that, that is a very good thing to do with any lip sync. Move things in small arcs. Your mouth corners are not going to be going in really big, wide circles. But if you're just going straight in, straight out, straight in, straight out, or you're doing a sneer and it's going straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down, it's going to look dead. We want to get that little bit of a rounder motion to things. It's not going to be really round. It's not going to be a big whoop loop, but it is going to be, there's going to be an arc to it. So we go through here, great mouth shapes, and again, look at how fast the mouth moves. Open, we get 1 frame right here, or not 1 frame. The jaw is closing, it eases just a little bit, and then right there, lips in 1 frame just close. Now the reason this works is because the jaw was moving first, so we have a continual motion of the jaw still moving, and then the lip goes. And then we have a little frame of compression before it opens up, and we get the front of the lips opening up, and even the back, we feel it adjusting as the front opens. So this is all really good. And look at this shake on the nose here. Look how much drag there is right there. The nose just wiggles back and forth. Whoop. That's so good. But you don't, like, if you frame through it, it looks like too much. It looks like, oh, that nose is too wiggly. Let's look at it at speed. Did you notice the wiggle at all? Right there? No. It's so fast. It's really just 1 frame of wiggle, but it enhances the moment without making it look like the nose is broken. It creates almost a smear effect. And this is something where, as animators, we can use those little moments to exaggerate. Someone was talking or asking yesterday about how do we exaggerate animation? How do we push our shots to that next level and make things exaggerated? How do we go away from reference? And this is one of those things. There's a lot of different things we can do for polish and really refining our shots. But breaking moments to enhance a certain feeling works really, really well. So one of my favorites that I learned way back when I was a student is, let's say you have a character hitting something. This could be a slap against someone's face. It could be a punch. It could be them hitting a wall, slapping the hand down on the table. When the hand hits the table, on the frame of contact, you really flatten out that hand and you scale it up. You make the hand bigger on 1 frame. And basically what you're creating is the feeling of the pancake, where the hand hits and is going whoop, and flattening out, stretching out. Think of like dropping a piece of jello or like something slightly rubbery on a surface, and it goes whoop, expands out before kind of bouncing back in. You're doing that with the hand, and you can exaggerate it a lot. And you just do it for one frame before it snaps back into place. And at speed, you're not really going to see it, but you're going to feel this extra impact, this squash, and then kind of coming back in. It really helps sell something hitting hard. When you're having something like this head turn, adding that extra drag, and in this case, he has a snout. For a human face, you could add that to the cheeks. You can drag the whole mouth shape to the side as they turn, and you get that little boing of the mouth coming back, and that creates a little bit more of a fleshy feeling in the face here. Or even the jaw, you can push that just a little bit. Again, not too far where it'll look like the jaw is just hanging and swinging and just dislocated. But enough so it takes away that stiff, just static feeling of the face. So that's great. I love that. Now, there was another part here that I really loved, which is that little head shake he's got right there. So he goes through, and then, so we talked about the nose, but this here is just a wonderful little accent. We had this head kind of point towards camera. He could have just stayed here. He could have just stayed at this angle. It's a beautiful 3/4, great silhouette. But instead, they add this little extra head turn right there and shake. And it adds so much to that little moment. And let me actually listen to what he's saying here. Yeah, bad. So they're accenting bad. If they didn't do that, it would just be big bad wolf. Or like, it turns big bad wolf. And it's okay. But it doesn't emphasize anything. It's just saying a line. But if he turns and goes big bad, and he shakes his head on bad, suddenly that stands out a little bit more. He's emphasizing that word. There's something about the word bad that means more than the other words here. And as animators, this is something I'm always looking for in dialogue. And it's also why dialogue that has expression, that has accent, that has inflection is so much more fun to animate, because you can listen for those, listen for the way the voice actor emphasizes a certain word and then use it, do something with it. If you have a line of dialogue that is just bland and boring, and the characters stop talking in a monotone with no pauses, and there's no inflection in the voice, and it's very robotic, there's nothing to enhance, there's nothing to use. But if someone's talking and they have a pause in their talk, and then they, like I said right there, pop, and I made it with more emphasis, that is somewhere where, as an animator, I can go and, okay, how can I add that? Maybe I'll add an anticipation there and then pop it out a little bit more, or add a shake, or add something in there. Not to just detract from the shot, and not to add more complexity. This is the key here. When you're doing something like that, oftentimes what you don't want is to add a big extra motion, because now when they go and pause and do this and do that, you're just doing too much. It's too much motion. You want an accent. Maybe it's just a little head raise. You're staying within the pose, you're just adding to it. And here you can see the final pose ends up pretty much where they were before, just a little closer to camera. Or actually, no, right here. So this is the shake. So he shakes, he goes into pretty much where he was before, just a little bit more turned to camera. And then they have this beautiful accent here where they anticipate, pull away from camera first. The whole face anticipates. You see the brows coming in. The whole pose is going back away from us here. The mouth even pulls away. Everything is kind of pulling away and compressing. It's a squash pose before it comes in, and you have the eyes expand out. I love the black rim around the eyes on the outside. That's such a cool detail. And then as he comes back, it kind of settles in. So we have that overshoot. He comes a little too close. His eyes open too much. And then they settle into the final pose right there. That's just beautiful. All those little details that they're putting in this is just, oh, so good. Now this scene here, this was the moment where it's like, I feel like they're inspired by a lot of classic, like, heist films as well as like cartoons. For some reason, this is giving me like very Lupin vibes. Lupin the Third. If anyone's seen that, it's an old series. It's still going now. I think it started in the 60s and there's still new episodes being made, new movies being made. But it has that kind of feel to it, which I really love. And it's not specific like, oh, they're copying Lupin. It's just that very classic heist movie feel. So I'm really excited for that. This right here, I just love the posing. Very clear silhouettes. Technically, this arm back here at that angle should be broken, but who cares? It looks great. This is a great example of pushing a pose to make it read clearly. So it has a great silhouette. And even though it might be a little bit broken, our arms don't really go back that far. It doesn't matter because as the audience, we get it. And we don't feel the break. That's the key. We can cheat as long as the audience never catches us. And what are the W's on the palm trees? I'm assuming it's just kind of this extra effect. So if you look at the actual palm tree here, you can see that the lines of the palm tree actually extend past the palm tree. It's like there's someone colored in the palm tree and offset the drawing slightly. And I'm wondering if that's what they're going for here, where it's like someone almost drew over the palm tree and then offset the drawing. And it just creates this 2D effect. It's kind of like how Spider-Verse adds the lines to the characters, the extra details that just are drawn on instead of rendered in. Either that, or it could be a artistic kind of motion blur type effect. I'm assuming it's probably just stylization, which again, this is what I love about this film is they're pushing that stylization. I love seeing that. The camera angle here as well. I just love, like, they look straight if you just look at them, but if you look at the background, they are very, very offset here. And I just hit the, there we go, timeline there. And laissez faire, bonjour. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, it's beautiful composition. The posing is just absolutely fantastic. Look at this pose. Clear line of action. The line of action for the body here is kind of going in like this. There's a secondary line that goes through the entire body this way. You even have that line of action going right through the arms right there. Super clear. And this is from The Bad Guys, which is a DreamWorks film that's coming out, is it next year? But there's the trailer for it. I highly recommend checking out. It's a great trailer. And no spoilers, which is always nice. Or no huge spoilers, I guess you could say. So, great line of action, the character here. I love the facial posing. Look at that really clear contrapposto in the face. How one eye is quite a bit shorter than the other. It just adds visual appeal to the character. They're even using the nose to add this nice line of action to the face here. Adding bend bows to the legs to get this nice round shape right through there. Everything about this is just working so beautifully. Now, one thing I did want to point out is, let's take a look at this character. What kind of line of action is this? We've got this just like super crazy pattern here. this is not a simple clean line. This is not a just smooth arc. No, there's so many bends and whatnot. Why does this work? Well, for one, there is a kind of global shape to it. And what I mean by global shape is a shape that is compositionally working with what they're doing. So you've got the main body here wrapping around the safe. That's what he's protecting. That's what he's holding, essentially. And there's this kind of, if you kind of simplify it, you squint your eyes a little bit. There's this global shape here, and then you get the drag of the tail there, and the head going out here. So it's really this kind of horseshoe shape. From there, they can add extra details, like this little dip here, the neck going out there, and then the tail just zigzagging like crazy. And this works. One, because it's a snake, and two, because he's compressing in. When you take something really long and bunch it together, it's not going to go into a simple just U shape, especially if it's wiggly, like a snake. So imagine taking a piece of string and just taking the two ends and pushing them together. You're going to have a lot of zigzags. For this character, this works really well. If you were to do this on a character that has straight bones, that's not going to work quite as well unless you're really exaggerating. So they've got this simplified form that they add a little complexity to, but they're also keeping the composition working really well here. And they've got this nice offset to things. So what I mean by offset is, if you look at the way the body is curved here, there's definitely a line weight being pulled this way. The tail here is dragging upwards this way. This arc here, the line weight of it, it's not just a round basic arc like this. They are pulling it back that way. So all of these different arcs are being pulled. Even this one here, down here, it's being pulled this way. It creates this unified feeling of drag going through, where every single one of these tiny little arcs feel like there's a pull to it. And then the face is just amazing. Once again, one eye bigger than the other. It looks like they're actually scaling the eyes, which is awesome. It's something I talked about yesterday. Scale the eyes just a little bit. It really makes a difference for your contrapposto in the face. Great mouth shape here. One thing I love about this snake is the teeth are optional. As you'll see later on, sometimes like he's got a mouthful of really sharp teeth. Other times, no teeth whatsoever. And that's definitely, it brings me back to like the 2D days where, yeah, you just draw what you want to draw. And I love it when 3D films are not like, well, the rig has this, it has to be this way. They go by what works well stylistically, and if it just looks good. Nice, laissez-faire. You're using Blender? That's awesome. I still want to get into Blender at some point. I just need time for it. But that's awesome that you're doing some Blender stuff. The Eevee and Cycles renderers, so good. Every time I see people like posting online about the cool things that they do with it, it's like, oh, I must try this. It looks so good. But let's keep going on this trailer here. So beautiful posing here. I love the little hold. Okay, this smile here. This was something that caught me on the trailer that I wanted to take a look at for a couple of reasons. One, oddly enough, is the guard. One thing I really love about how they animate all the guards in this trailer. I don't know if it's going to be for the whole film, but at least in this trailer, if you look at their posing, they're always kind of like this with their arms up very high, and they take very high steps. We're going to see that later. But like, look at how he walks. Like there's this big, exaggerated, like making himself bigger, puffing himself out kind of feeling to it. Let's actually go ahead here. Like, look at these guards. They're just standing there. Great posing, by the way. Like, look how straight this is and very cubic. Makes them very stocky looking. And I love how both expressions are very different. Look at those eye shapes. So his eyes are like right in the center. So good. But when they start moving, look at the posing they get. Really wide. And look at those high steps. Their knees are going way up here. That's just such a cool stylistic choice. This is not a normal run. If this was kind of a normal film, you would just see the guards go and then they'd run. And you can see my arms don't go up. I just start running. But no, arms go way out. Big, wide, swinging arms. And it really creates this unique feeling to anytime we see any of the guards moving. Now, as he comes up here, you can see the chest is actually stretching here. The hips are dragging a little bit. They're still moving up, but there's a stretch in there. And then you get this nice bouncing ball moment here. Where just nice hang time, if you look at the hips, comes down very fast. And the hips now drag the chest right there. And look how fast that is. Over one frame. Down. And then back up. Very nice. And then the other guard, kind of the same thing. We get a little anticipation here. He turns back. Whoop, looks over. Pops up. Holds. Once again, we see the hips lead. Drags the body down. And then that slight overshoot right here. Even the head stretches. You can see the top of the head come down. And then goes through. I think there was another part. Where was it? Yeah, so in here. The way the guards come in, once again, look at that posing. Not one of them is running with their arms like tucked in. Their knees are way up. Like, this guy, he's got his knee like almost to his chest right here. Look at that face. Big drag on the face there. It's so good. Every one of them has a different pose, different expression. Doing crowd animation like this is not easy, but they are doing an amazing job of it. And then when we cut over to the next one, same thing. Look at this guy. He's not even looking in the right direction. He's kind of looking off this way. I think this guy's my favorite. But look at all of them. They're just running big arms, not a single one down to the side. And it creates this very unique feeling that I just absolutely adore. Like, just looking at this trailer here is like, I want to see it just for those guards. They're just so much fun. And I think there was another scene right near the end here. Yeah. So if you watch the way this character falls in, which we're going to be looking more for animation in here in just a little bit. Very tight. The arm swings through. Is very close to the body. Tightens up. But look at the guard. Arms way out once again. The arms never come in. They're always just doing this as they're moving around. It's so good. Nice motion blur there. Or not motion blur. Smear. Right through there. Great hand pose. Look at that beautiful reaction here. So you see the legs being way out on the guard. Let's do this in red. So way out. We get that swing. The knee gets knocked in. And from there, she loses her balance and starts to try and correct herself and is essentially throwing herself out of balance here. Her leg got knocked out, but she is reacting and what would be the right word? Not overemphasizing, overcorrecting herself. So it's a double effect here. It's not just the hit that's knocking her over. I love the drag on the arm here. Look at that little finger right there. Great hand poses. These types of poses here are the poses that you are not going to get from a default pose library or a default, like on certain rigs, you're going to have a global fist control, a global spread control. So it just goes whoop, whoop. You're never going to get hand poses like that with those controls. This is the animator going in and making a beautiful pose. Same thing, like look at these hand poses. So good. So good. I'm a sucker for good hand poses. It adds so much character to your character. And look at that expression. Once again, really pushing the asymmetry of the eyes and the roundness of the eyes here. One of the things we talk about a lot on the streams, and we'll use this as an example here, it's not the clearest, is trying to get corners in your mouth poses. When a character smiles, when they talk, you usually want to pinch the corner of the mouth. That is more anatomically correct. It's how the mouth works because of the muscles. You get a little bit of a pinch here. Even for like shapes where you get that rounder mouth shape, there's still a little bit of a pinch right there. That is more anatomically correct. And for most shows, that's kind of what you want to go for. Nowadays, we're seeing more and more of the cartoony aspect coming in with really round mouths. So this is something you'll see in like Steven Universe. If you look at the mouth shapes in Steven Universe, they're just beans, just big round shapes. And that is coming into 3D now. We saw it with Luca, for example. We're seeing it here. There's a lot of films that are using that. And that is good. That is totally fine. Even though it's anatomically incorrect, stylistically, it just looks really cool. And as animators, we have to balance that realism versus the style of the show. And the key is that we don't want to break that world that we're in. So, for example, something like this, if you were to suddenly have a scene where the mouth is very realistically posed, that might feel a little weird. Vice versa, if you're in a show that's more realistic and suddenly go into this big cartoony mouth, that's not going to work so well. So the mouth shape will depend on the style of the film you're going for. Now, unless, for example, you're doing something like Centaur World, which has 2 worlds in there, then you can kind of play around even more. But I just love how they're really stylizing all of this. Now, going back a little bit here, we've got the scene right here. There were a couple of things I wanted to take a look at right here. So one, look how fast that expression change happened there. Expression changes happen so quickly. And what I really love is how they're breaking up the action. So as he moves, we see a little bit of motion right here. You can see it in the lip. There's kind of like an anticipation kind of going out before the mouth swings around. The nose really isn't affected yet. It's just the jaw, the cheeks. It starts to come through and up, pushing into the cheeks, pushing the mouth back, before suddenly that motion drags the head down, brings the ears forward. As the ears go forward, especially on a dog and cat, anything like that, the ears are kind of connected to the forehead. So I love here how as the ears go forward, we feel a little bit of the brows coming down as well. So it's creating that connected feeling there. And it also creates an anticipation before the brows start to come up. And we get the rest of the head turn kind of going through there. And yes, this is DreamWorks. The Bad Guys by DreamWorks. So it goes through, we get that pull, and then there's this kind of little overshoot of the nose. It goes through before whoop, goes back the other way, and we get a nice ease right through there. We get a nice little overshoot back. So we get this very nice breakup of motion. It's not just the whole expression changing all at once. And why does the nose not register as a pop? The nose doesn't register as a pop. Let's see. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just focusing my eyes on where my eyes are looking. And the thing that my eyes are looking at is not the nose, is the corner of the mouth and the fuzz here. There's this big white spot, big bright spot here on the face. And because of that, as long as the mouth isn't popping too much, which it isn't, it just has this nice ease, the nose is kind of the secondary motion. It's like if you're focusing on my face here and there's a kind of little pop over here, you're not going to really notice that. If anything, the pop is going to make it stand out just a little bit more versus getting lost in there. The other thing is that it's not quite a pop. So if we actually track the nose here, we're going to track the corner of the nose. Let's turn on our ghosting. And let's get rid of that right there. So tracking the arc of the nose, we see it go down, up, and then over. You can see it's not really a pop. It's actually slowing down there. It's just a sharp angle change. But when we frame through it, it looks like a pop. So this is another area where, as animators, we have to be careful when we're framing through it. This is actually something Cameron and I don't talk about too much, but we should make a habit of talking about it a little bit more, is that when you have a motion, we're going to frame through a lot of our animation. We're going to be going through frame by frame, trying to look at the overall motion. And when you're doing that, there will be moments where you're looking at something like this and it's like, oh, wow, I've got a pop in my animation. Look at that big nose motion right there. Framing through, it definitely feels like a pop. But at speed, it feels good. It's sharp, definitely. It's not super smooth. There's kind of I wouldn't say a hitch in it, but like a sharp motion there. But it's not a pop. And we have to be very careful that as we're framing through our animation, we're not killing the visual stylization of things. We are trying to enhance it. So whenever you see something like this, it's a good idea to try and play it at speed first. See if it's actually registering as a pop visually at speed. So this is actually just a nice arc right through there, with just a little bit of a sharp angle change. Keep hiding the timeline by accident. And thanks for the reminder. Yeah. So, got a hair in my mouth. There. So another thing I love about this is the way they... He's still there. There you go. See, this is why I tie back my hair. Because it's too curly. It just kind of gets in my face. Luckily, the headphones hold them back. So another thing I love about this, and this kind of goes into the stylization, is look at what they're doing with the teeth. The teeth are realistic. So what I mean by that is there's actual individual teeth in this character's mouth. Right there, you can see all the different teeth right through there. And then in one frame, suddenly they just go to this giant white, like super simple form here. And this is something we can do at any point in your shots. If you're using a rig, for example, if you're using the Animation Mentor rigs, they have actual teeth. It's just solid, or sorry, not solid, just individual teeth that look very realistic. If you want to do this big cartoony cheesy grin that's just super simple, all you need to do is put a polygon, usually like a polygon cylinder cut in half and scaled a little bit in the mouth, and there you go. You've got basically, you can think of it like putting dentures in their mouth, this super simplified denture in there. And if you want, you could even do two of them, one for the top row, one for the bottom row, and it creates this just simplified smile and simplified form. And like you can see here, it really changes the character. And if they were trying to go for a more vicious smile, you would keep the dog canine teeth because you've got the fang and all of that stuff. But to create this more innocent and just like charming smile, they simplify the teeth. We can do that with any character. And it really adds a lot to a pose, especially a stylized type animation. And Jupit, yes, that pop right in the nose here, it does have quite a bit of an ease here, which does help. It's not like it just goes and then freezes. If it just came over here and then just stopped right there, that would definitely feel like the term we usually use is it hits a wall. It just hits and then freezes. That ease helps to make that motion feel more natural. It's still pretty sharp. You can see it eases pretty quick. That comes from the stylization of the film. It's a little bit more sharp and cartoony. I love the eye shapes here. Super simple. And the hand poses. Look at those hand poses. So good. How fast does he raise his finger? Like one frame. You get one frame here where the finger starts to curl up. It's mostly up here. Yeah. Basically 2 frames. 1 frame of anticipation here as the hand starts to come up. Then it's up. And there you go. 2 frames. And look at the thumb on the other side. Boop. It's out. You get a little bit of motion right here. And then the thumb is out right there and it holds. Really fast. And look at those bend bows. That arm is definitely bent more than it should be. It works so well. They're going for the graphical shapes of this. So good. It looks like, okay, Pop was, is that this white flat shape made in Next Pass? No, this would be probably done in animation. So essentially what you would do is hide the visibility of the regular teeth geometry and turn on the visibility of the, I guess you could say, the simple teeth geometry. In this, it's probably rigged into the rig. So it's just a switch that you go from normal teeth to simple teeth. But in a rig, let's say that you have that just has one set of teeth, you would just turn off the visibility of the regular teeth and put in the visibility of this new object you created that's probably constrained or parented to the head so it follows along. And you just do the switch over 1 frame. That's essentially what they're doing. Over 1 frame, boop, it just swaps out. And that's it. And it's just a visibility switch. Nothing more complex than that. I actually, on the old AM Bishop rig, which students at AM, you still have access to it. But I believe, if I remember correctly, he had that switch between simple teeth and more complex teeth. And I actually used that in one of my assignments where, or was it, or actually maybe not. I'm trying to think now. Because I remember setting up my own teeth for a rig once, where the rig itself, this was the Bishop rig way before, the early version of Bishop, where the teeth, he just had these very simple block teeth. And I created and modeled my own more realistic teeth and replaced them and just created a switch that I can switch back and forth between simple and complex. And it just gave me more variety in my shots. I could do a more cartoony, simple shot, or if I wanted the character to be a little bit more sinister and a little bit more, like, I guess you could say add more detail to the mouth, you could go to the more realistic teeth. Now, we got this next shot here. This is nice and simple. This shot here, this was one that I was just framing through this before the stream, and it's such a simple motion. Like, this is one of those shots where, as an animator, you could be given a shot like this. It's not very long. Now, in the film, it might be longer, but let's say this is the entire length of time from here to here. So how long is that total? 402. It starts on 380. So 22 frames, less than a second right there. It's not much at all. But if you look at it, there's so much great attention to detail that they put into this. This is actually one of those reasons why I always recommend students to do just short little tests. Do something like 22 frames. That's all this is. But there's so much visual appeal and visual interest. You could do so many of these tiny little tests like this to really get your polishing skills up versus doing a 600 frame shot and hoping something in it will turn out. So we look at this. First pose. Look how appealing it is. He's looking at his little candy bar burrito something there. And look at the eye squint. It's so well done. Eyes super narrow, very round. So again, they're using that very round style. Most rigs have corners to the eyes. You get something more like that. They're really rounding those corners in here. And if you look at the eyes, it's not symmetrical. And this is something we can do in any eye shape. This curve right here is much wider than this curve here. So we can see where he's squinting a little bit more. If he's squinting in this center versus on the outside. We get this nice asymmetry in the eyes. Big brow shape right here. Much narrower right there. Even the eye. This eye is just a little bit wider than the other one. The pose itself, we've got a very stocky character. Stocky characters are probably some of the hardest to animate because you don't really have room to bend a knee or bend an elbow. Like look at his little arm. It's barely any upper arm and lower arm. It's just tiny little thing. His leg, like that's it. Look at that. Where would you bend the knee? There is no knee here. But they still do a great job with the posing, making it feel like he's interacting with the environment by having the foot at an angle because he's standing in a divot. And animation-wise, look at this nice little motion of the walk. If we just watch the feet, there's a little bit of a pause whoop, before he touches the ground. We still feel it though. It's not frozen. It's going up, moving down. We feel the squish of the heel before it slams down, pushes off the ground here, but swoops through. Look how close it is to the ground right there. And then whoop, pauses, and you can see that a little bit of an overshoot as he hasn't taken the step. It's just like, whoa, and it moves back right through there. As he goes through, nice, great weight shifts in the body right through here. You really feel that weight go through and then down and then over and start to come back, but not quite before he pauses. As he stops, there's a little bit of overshoot in the chest. You can see it by the shadows in the body here, right there. It's not much, but it's in there. All of these little details. And then what I really love is the face. Look at how he's reacting here. He opens his mouth, pauses, and as he comes up, there's this little bit of a drag here. The mouth is dragging down as the head leads up. And then the whole jaw kind of catches up right here as the head stops. And then we get into that surprise where the head goes up and now we go into the stretch pose. Everything kind of stretches and settles back. So you've got two motions back to back. You've got a drag and settle, and then a surprise, shock, a stretch and settle. And it creates this nice little connected feeling. If we watch the face, it just freezes. Like when you watch it at speed, there's not much to it. But you feel it. You feel that fleshiness of the face. It's not just the rig's head going and freezing. Those little details, again, this is polish. This is the kind of thing that when you're trying to push your shot to that next level, get it to that like really refined quality, that's what you put in. And putting this in a 22 frame shot is going to be so much easier to test things out and see if it works versus doing it on, again, a 600 frame shot or something like that. Even the tongue. As he's going up, the tongue drags and there's a little overshoot right there. Whoop, before it settles. So good. It's just a tiny little shot, but they put so much detail and love into it. So good. Now here, there's nothing really I wanted to point out here aside from I didn't notice this earlier. the little arms on the snake. Look at those. It's just so bad. So in the best way. Like those hands don't look real at all. You can see their elbows all squished in. It's a perfect disguise. I love it. So good. Now here, this was another scene that very small motion. You've just got the spider turning their head and reacting. But the amount of detail they put in here, the arc to the head. Look at that beautiful arc going through right there. You get that drag and then it comes up. And it's not a symmetrical arc. So once again, what I mean by a symmetrical arc is when you have a line that's just, let's see if I can do this a little bit better. Whoop. Very even. Very straight. It's almost like, well, it's symmetrical on both sides there and there. Instead, this arc, it's a little flatter there before it whips around and we get something more, let's see, I'm terrible at drawing like that. So I should do it a little bit more where we can see it. That would help. So it's straighter before we get into that kind of curve there. Like that. So straight versus a much bigger curve. And it's not a huge thing, but it just makes things more interesting. As we're going down here, the face is going into a squash pose. It's when you're trying to animate the face, it's much easier to think of the face as squash and stretch for a lot of different expressions. It's not always going to be the case, but it's a way of simplifying things. So we start the pose here. This is pose A. We are in kind of a neutral pose, and then the face is going to go up into this pose over here. We'll say this pose right there before it starts changing again. Pose B. And we can see that, that face gets wider at the top, bigger. So if we're going to do that, how can we make it stand out even more? Well, we compress it. We anticipate. This is a stretched pose. Brows are up, eyes are open, and Jupiter. Oh, thanks so much for the sub. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Oh, 12 months. Jeez. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I love that song. Sorry. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Almost choked. I should drink some water. We've got the stretch pose here. Everything's wide. The mouth is even wide right there. Everything's much bigger. So, as the character's turning, we go into a squash pose. It's just contrast. It's anticipation. If we're going to go wide, we go narrow. So, as the character's doing the head turn, we have this half blink. The eyes just come down a little bit. It's not a full blink. And the mouth narrows down and closes ever so slightly before popping up open. And this is a simple concept, but once you add that along with the offset of the face, so as we see the face coming in here, the eyes are leading the action, then the mouth comes in. As they open up, we see the eyes definitely lead the action. Look how fast they open over one frame. They're still closing a little bit here. They pop open. And Roman Animator, thank you so much for the sub. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Aw, you guys are awesome. Yay. And I get to hear the song again. Yay! Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And Jupit, thanks for the reminder. So, what was I'm too easily distracted. So yeah, the eyes pop open. Eyes move very quick. We talked about how fast the mouth can move. Eyes are the same thing. Yeah, eyes are probably even faster. So in one frame, look at pop. Now, how do they make it feel that it doesn't pop and just like be weird? They keep easing it in. So if you look at the shape of the eye here and how high it goes, it's gone up here and it keeps going up before easing back down a little bit. So you overshoot and then let it settle. And that avoids it feeling like it just locks off, like it hits a wall. And I keep noticing I'm like bumping my head against the side of the screen here. So I'm going to scoot back just a little bit. So we get that nice ease in the eyes there. Now the eyes pop open. We get a little bit of motion in the mouth here going out. And let me draw that arc properly. So it goes up and out before then the jaw, boop, pops open. So it's eyes, mouth follows a little bit, then the mouth goes, and the mouth does the same thing. It overshoots and eases in. And we get this nice little drag of the mouth corner going in or coming back out. And I love this. Just the tongue animation there. It's so cute. And it's one of those things where whenever you have a character with their big, like a big mouth open pose, like, you need to animate that tongue. It doesn't have to move much, but if it's just still in the mouth, especially if they're going to say something, that is going to be a dead giveaway that the shot is fake. And this is actually an issue they had with Polar Express. If anyone's seen Polar Express, I actually really love that film. I find the music in it is beautiful. A lot of the scenery is beautiful. It is a magical film. But one thing about it is the animation looks like it hits the uncanny valley, which for anyone who doesn't know is like it's close to realism, but not quite. It feels very motion capture, which is not on the animators. That's the studio's decision. That's the feeling they wanted. But another issue they had in that film is that makes it kind of feel unnatural is if you look at the mouths, the tongues don't move in certain scenes. They're talking, they're saying things, they're singing, and the tongue does not move. It's very subtle, but it stands out. And what ended up happening was that the animators were told, don't animate the tongues. No one's going to see them because the shadows are going to hide it. You're not going to see inside the mouth. When they rendered the film, the lights were put in a position that went and lit the inside of the mouth. So you saw the inside of the mouth with no tongue animation. So that was just like, I don't know what happened there, but in the end, it creates this like this uncanny valley feeling. As animators, we don't want that. We don't want our shots to have that feeling of, okay, it's good, but there's something about it that's not right. Animate the tongue. And look at this. It's not that complex. It just kind of goes up with a little bit of a curl. It's flatter here. And it's actually leading by the center of the tongue. So the tip of the tongue is staying down right here. The back of the tongue kind of stays in place and is pushing up from the center. And then it goes up. And it creates this overlapping motion right in there. It's very subtle, but it makes it feel more alive and more interesting versus just this. What you also don't want is just this flap that just goes dip, 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 dip. That's not interesting either. You want the tongue to curl. It should spread out. It should fold. Like this, if you look at the kind of overall shape here, as it comes up, see how it kind of gets more of a bump on each side? This is, I've heard this described as the hills of the tongue. The kind of, that shape right there. And you want to play with that if you can. If your rig has those controls to fold the tongue and to kind of change the shape, do that. Especially when you've got a close up like this of the face. It adds so much. And then this is something that we don't usually look at in animation analysis, but I just want to kind of point out the character here. As an audience, we are focusing on all these screens. We're not really looking at the spider anymore. But they still keep alive on the character. And keep alive is probably one of the hardest things you're going to have to animate. Because you're essentially trying to animate something that keeps the character alive, but does not distract from what we should be looking at. So for example, if this character was doing this, that's where we would be looking. Instead, they have to just stay still, but not be so still that they're frozen. And here, you can see it's very subtle, but you get this nice little overlap to the body. So you get the head kind of leading. It goes down, then up. We're seeing the upwards motion here. As it's going up, we're getting a contrasting motion in the body going down. And that motion pushes through the rest of the body. So if you think about the character, let's simplify this. You've got the head here. This is where Cameron should be drawing this, not me. You've got the head here, the torso. You could say there's the hips, and then there's the abdomen for the spider right there. So think of it like these 4 spheres. We've got the arc of the head that goes up and over, and the body goes down. Now, when the body goes down, it's going to compress, and then it's going to push the hips down. As the hips get pushed down and the body starts to stretch back up, we get that overlap. But then as the hips go down, it's going to drag the abdomen down, but not just straight down. It's going to rotate because the front end over here is going down, while the back end, which has legs supporting it, is going to be a little bit more stable, so it's going to tip. So if you think about it in that way, in just these kind of different spheres and how they would interact with each other, if you look at the character here, it's very subtle, but you feel the chest go down, and then the hips would go down, even though we don't see them. And then you see the abdomen right there, the body of the character, have a kind of wave to it. And that affects the legs. So just by kind of thinking of the head and the chest and creating this counter motion, from there, you can build all of the rest of your overlap and create this subtle moving hold that doesn't feel like only part of the body is shifting or only the head is moving. You create this connected feeling. And along with that, you then build in the smaller details. The arms are moving. No one can see that arrow. The arms are moving. And you're going to have a subtle shift in the shoulders. You're going to have a little twist to the body because the character is looking from one monitor. You can see the little bit of a subtle head turn right there. So that's going to affect the body. So you're starting to build in all of these little things. You start with one motion and then let it build through the rest. It doesn't always work, I will say that, depending on the type of motion that you have. But it is a good way to build these subtle motions and make it feel connected versus just having a character standing there. You should usually see this in the back of the character's head, and they're just standing there, and then you're going to get a little head turn and then a head turn, but nothing else is affected. That feels really weird. A good breath cycle also helps. Just kind of this very subtle breath cycle that can help keep alive in there. Now, there was another scene. We looked at the guards here. Love those guards. I love the shape of the snake. It's all sharp angles. Well, sharp-ish. So good. And look at that nice squish to the cheek. Really pushed contrapposto of the face. The curl of the mouth. That to me feels... Oh no, those are the lines of the face. Okay, yeah. It just goes there. I love those little lines, by the way. I wanted to mention them earlier, but they add these little wrinkle lines to the face whenever there's kind of a compression to the eye. That's such a great little detail. And it's something that we can do on any rig. This does not have to be built in. Essentially what it is either using a grease pencil and drawing over top, or if you want to follow the rig, you put a polygon plane over top of the face with just an image of wrinkles, like these two lines, and it's a PNG. It has transparency, and you just turn the visibility on and off, and you parent that to the face. So it's just kind of right over top of the face, visibility on off, and you get little extra face details, and you can just draw whatever you want on there. That is the simple way of doing this. There are other ways of doing it with a texture. So you can actually draw this onto the texture and have a texture switch, which I think I've shown on stream how to do that at one point. But that's a little bit more complex, and you don't have full control over the movement of it compared to a polygon plane. Now here, this scene I really like. Like, just look at that pose. It's so good. He gets pulled through here into this scene. They're repeating the action. See here how he gets pulled forward. He's definitely out of balance here. And then on this next pose, he's perfectly in balance before he gets pulled forward again. So they're repeating the action right there. When you're doing something like this, that's totally fine to do. And you can see at speed, it actually helps us register what's going on just a little bit better. So don't be afraid of repeating an action, especially on something fast. It's only for a few frames. So if we kind of consider where this would be right around here, I would say that's probably like right around there where the hand's up. So 25. So they're repeating the last 5 frames. Just enough that we can register what's going on. Now, on this pull here, right away, we've got 2 things that I really love. Super strong pose and an amazing composition. You'll notice that the composition is actually skewed slightly. It's at a Dutch angle, which is basically just take the camera and go boop, ever so slightly. You can see it by the painting here. Look at the angle of it. It's not straight and horizontal. What this gives is a feeling of things aren't right. Things are out of balance. Things are going wrong. And it just adds movement to the camera without actually having to move the camera. That is really nice. And then in terms of strong posing, look at this beautiful line that they're going right from the shoulder, straight through, straight to the woman right here. And her line of action is basically being pulled right there. Everything is kind of leading right there. It's very subtle with her, but nice straight line. That shows tension. It shows some strength in there. It creates the feeling of a pull happening. And then the line of his other arm helps with that. And even the line of the body kind of starts to help with that. As he gets pulled, everything is pulling in this direction, pulling down. And we can see how the whole body is kind of arcing up and over by that pull. And it's leading from the chest. The chest is the first thing to get pulled here. That pulls the hips then. This foot is trying to balance himself out and holding on to the ground, stretching out before whoop, pops. Look at that, 1 frame. Now, how do they avoid that feeling like a pop? Well, they ease the foot out. Ease, goes up. And this is one of those moments where you as the animator have a choice of how you want to do this. If we look at the heel, look at the spacing of the heel. It goes up really quickly, eases in, and then pops. Why is there this ease in? Shouldn't that make the motion feel more like a pop? Yes and no. It will definitely make it feel a little bit more like a pop if it eases in right here. But that's sometimes a good thing. Sometimes we want a pop to happen. So what this little ease in does is it creates, I always use a lever example for this, is imagine you're pulling a lever. You're trying to pull it or push it, and it's kind of rusty. If it's nice and smooth, it's just going to go ease out. Whoop, there you go. It's going to speed up. That's it. But if it's rusty, you're going to have this pull, and it's going to pause before it suddenly releases. Whatever's rusty, let's go, and you get that big snap forward. If ever you've like tried to open a jar and it's like not moving, it'll budge, pull, and then just crack open, or anything like that. If you're trying to break a branch, that usually happens, or you're trying to break it, nothing, and then just snaps and lets go. Is that same principle. That foot is holding on. It's like, no, hold on. And then gets dragged up. So that little pause, in this case, helps enhance that motion. And it creates that extra feeling of like trying to hold on before suddenly you can't hold on anymore. This is where we as an animator, we choose to do this. This is a conscious choice. And it's also why, like, as much as I say, oh, there's all these rules and bouncing ball and doing this and all of these different things that we can apply, as animators, we can choose to break any of them at any time. There are no rules in animation that we can't break. The key is that we break them with purpose, that we use them to enhance a specific feeling versus just doing it for the sake of doing it and hoping for the best. So we get that little pause, snaps up, nice big hold. There's still a little bit of moving hold there before it like moves out. And then you get that nice little hold here before whoop, the leg comes through in this nice arc and comes down. Look at that stretch. The leg is definitely stretching there. Beautiful. And everything is moving in nice clean arcs and hitting these nice poses. So he goes through, and as he goes through, he hits this pose, hold right there before swoops through. You get another hold right here, very slight, before he pulls back, holds there, and then holds here. So if we break it down, we can find the key poses here. So if we were to go at the beginning here, we're not going to look at all of this at the beginning because then we're going to have to erase a whole bunch of drawings. But we've got the hold here that then goes into this. Let's get rid of that drawing there. So hold, 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 hold. These are our keys. If you were to animate straight from all of these, you would get some very stilted animation where it just kind of moves, holds, moves, holds, moves, holds. It would look very boring. The way they make this feel organic, but also not feel like everything is just moving and moving and moving and moving, is they break down the motions. So from this hold here, where everything's kind of still, the first thing that happens is the arm starts to move forward and the body keeps getting pulled a little bit here. But the big motion is the arm swinging through. Beautiful arc going through. That, as the arm goes forward, causes a reaction in the leg. If he's putting more weight forward, he needs to put more weight back to keep himself balanced. And we see that happening here. The leg pushes back to keep himself balanced as he comes through into the next hold here. Notice that the leg has stopped moving right around here. It's already started in the hold. The heel has stopped right around here. So we get the heel, then the leg, Then the arm comes through, and it only really stops right here. So the arm throughout this hold never fully comes to a stop before going through. This creates this offset where certain things stop sooner, and the whole pose is pretty much holding except for the arm and the pull here on the other shoulder right there, before that then again pulls through. We get this next little hold, which only holds like for 3 frames ish. The body is essentially holding the pose before getting dragged, and once again the arm comes in, it stops right there, then the leg moves. Then as the leg stops, now the arm moves. He gets into this pose. As he's going through, we get the hips that stop, then the foot comes down. That foot coming down drags the hip forward a little bit. And we get these little bit of, or again, once again, this little bit of lead and follow. One thing happens and causes a reaction in another bit. So what we're not getting is everything just stopping at the exact same time, or stop all at the exact same time. This keeps the poses feeling alive, and it flows through. As they're doing this, they're really pushing their arcs and their contrast. Look how straight the arm is here. And then you start getting that bend right through there. And you really feel that elbow leading the action back there. I love these smear frames, by the way, which these, not smear frames, lines. These lines here, you can do that with the grease pencil tool. Like just draw 3 lines, you're done. Very simple, but you can see how much they add to this motion, like right there, right through there. And if you're ever worried about like, how do I make the lines? How do I feel, or how do I figure out where to put them? It's just the arc. So if you look at the hand here, the hand is right there. If I go to the next frame, so the hand was right here with the fingers over here. Well, look where that line lines up, right where the hand was. And where does it go? Right to where the hand is. It's connecting the 2 poses. That's all it's doing. It comes through here. The hand is over here. Look where the lines go, right from where the hand was. The key is that you never want it to go before where the hand was. So I wouldn't put the lines back here. That would be wrong, because it's connecting one hand or one pose to another. It's not connecting before the pose. That would create a pop that would like drag our eye in the wrong direction. It's okay if the lines are a little shorter. So the lines here could only be half as long. But you never want to go past the other pose. The same with multiples. If you're going to have multiples between 2 poses, so maybe draw out multiple hands right here, you wouldn't want to put one back here because the hand was in this pose earlier. That's really the key. You're just adding, you're connecting 2 drawings. So here, the hand is over there. And then you can see that the lines go a little right there. They're just pushing that arc, following through. Very simple. That bounce in the purse is so good. And look how far they're stretching it. In her pose. She's just on the very tip of her toes. It's so good. I love his little scramble here. Scrambles like this are really tricky to animate in a way that is very clear. Part of it is really exaggerating. Like if you're going to exaggerate this scramble or this really fast walk, you have to go for it. You can't go halfway or else it's not going to work. You have to go all the way. And holding poses. If we look at the spacing here, let's try to pick a color that shows up. Okay. So if we look at the spacing here, look at the heel on this foot. So it goes from the ground, comes up, up, and you can see that in that one frame, whoop, it's definitely favoring one pose a lot more. It's not in the middle. It's not over here. So it comes up and it holds this pose pretty much. Just comes to an almost stop, not fully, before it jumps down, holds again, before up here. Nice big arc. Slams down. So we got this like fast hold, arc. And what this does is it adds texture to it. If it's just fast hold, fast hold, fast hold, fast hold, that's boring. Our eyes will just go, I don't care anymore. But if you mix that up, so fast hold, arc, more interesting. If we look at the other foot, it's similar. So it's on the ground, up in the air. We start to get this nice arc right through. And then nice arc right through there. So they're mixing up this really complex motion as the screen left foot is doing this fast motion. The other foot, it's moving quickly. It's still snappy, but it's moving in a smoother way so that we're not kind of losing track of two things at once. It's this purposeful, what would be the right word? Coordination, I guess you could say. Then as this foot comes to a stop, now the other foot starts to come through. Very nice. And as all of this is happening, look at how much motion is happening in the body. So if we come back to the start of the motion here, look at how much the body moves. Not much at all. He gets a little bit of a raise in the elbows, a little bit of a stretch in the body here before he kind of swoops in, which is great posing, by the way. But when we break down this motion, it's actually not that complex. It really is just one quick step here. So 1, 2, 1, 2. There you go. And then 2 pretty much normal steps. Doot, doot. Fast. Or just nice arc. So it's, yeah, it makes it feel like it's more complex. Last stream of the year, we want both of you here. Yeah, unfortunately, Cameron wasn't able to make it. He got a last minute project that he has to finish today. And unless he works, if he jumped into the stream, it would last another 2 days. So he had to get it done today, unfortunately, which really sucks because we wanted to do the stream together. It's like the last stream of the year. We've got to do it together. Oh well. Project. Yay. Let's see. For a shot like this, would you animate the motion of the pelvis first? It looks much simpler to start there. Yeah. So for a motion like this, a lot of times what I will try to do, and I'm not saying the animator did this, this is just my workflow, is I would probably animate this in a layered method. So I would just animate the hips first, have them go forward and then arc through. So I get my overall timing of the shot, just that kind of like whoop, swoop. And then from there, get the legs to work underneath that. Once I have the legs working, then I can add in the upper body, which really just holds and then swoops through. But there's a lot of different ways. You could do it pose to pose. So every single key. So you'd have a pose here, or let's say a key here. You'd have your key there. You'd have probably a key here. And then you could do probably a key there. Probably another key right here on your contacts, and then there. And then break things down from there. But for something like this, I find layered tends to work a little bit better for me. I did want to take a look at one thing right here, which was when his tail starts wagging right here. There's a few things that I love about this. One is how the tail really just comes out of nowhere. Like silhouette wise, we don't even see the tail. It's not there. And then just, well, technically it's like here, but barely see it. And then it just comes out. The first wag, you see that nice little pull right there. So it goes out. You get that little hold before the hips lead out or get pulled out here, which affect his arm, which is very nice. It's not just the hips. The hips are knocking into the elbow here, pushing that arm out. Is dragging the other arm in. You get that wave. If you look at the hand is actually dragging back here ever so slightly. It's all these little subtle details that make it so good. And then as the tail comes back, the tail leads, and then the hips only get pulled over here. So you can see the tail starts coming back there. Then the hips react, get pulled over, and the hips are always a little bit delayed compared to the tail. And this creates a nice feeling of drag. Not only that, we're getting a nice rotation in the hips too, which adds a lot. And then his reaction here, look how fast it moves. Head just snaps. Reaction, super snappy. That's something I'm really excited to see in this film, is just how fast things move. Look at that beautiful hand smear. You get just a little anticipation here in the fingers before the hand comes down, swings for the tail, and that swing then motivates the next swing through right here. And the other arm moves in this nice arc up and then through and around. So good. Look at that foot. Takes a step back before sliding and kicking out right through there. So nice. Oh. So many little things that we could take a look at on this. And now, why does this not feel like a pop right here? Because that's definitely what we would consider a pop. The head just snaps. Well, part of it is that the camera cuts forward as well. So it creates the feeling of a cut right there. So we can speed things up just a little bit right through there. And it helps our brain not just register the head move, because everything's moving. Everything kind of just pops forward, and it avoids us just looking at the one thing. And then this next move here is just, we get that slight turn of the head, or big turn of the head, and that motivates the rest of the motion here. Because we had that big fast motion, everything else can move really nice and quick right through there. So good. Look at the great posing of the arms there. And it does look like they're definitely scaling the hands. Like you look at the size of the hand here versus the size of the hand there. Based on the camera lens, like you just look at the background, this looks like a pretty long lens. If it was a shorter lens, we'd see more distortion in the carpet. More of a taper. Because of that lens here, I would say this is probably closer to like a 50, maybe a 70 millimeter, I would guess. Somewhere around there. We should not see this big of a hand scale at that camera lens. We shouldn't. So this to me shows that they are scaling the hand. Same thing here. Look at the hand size right there and then there. There's no way the hand would get that much bigger, like moving not that much closer to the camera. So they're scaling the hand to add that extra smear before coming through. And there we go. So good. Look at that beautiful twist in the body. They're breaking the knee just to get that beautiful line of action, but it works beautifully. Your knee at that point would be in a lot of pain but it works. And then this moment. There's not really too much to say about this other than this is a very Ghibli moment to me. If ever anyone's seen Ghibli films and they have that like shiver and it goes through all of their hair. I think one of my favorite scenes was in Spirited Away when Chihiro steps on one of the little soot demons and she kind of has that shiver and you see it go all the way through her hair. I just always loved that effect. And the fact that they're doing it here, it's just like, oh, yay. The little fluffing of the fur. And you have a little bit of a head shake to the head there. So good. I think there was at least one more scene I wanted to take a quick look at. Because unfortunately I do have to get going pretty soon as well. Finish up a whole bunch of work today. Oh yeah, that's what it was. There were two scenes. There was the what right here. So it's just that snake. Look at the spacing here. It's so good. Look how sharp that is. And what makes it even sharper is that they have this like anticipation right here. Get the anticipation down. It comes up. And then the jaw acts as a secondary motion. You get the big pop out, nice straight pose right here. As that's happening, we get the jaw snap out, hold a little bit before it snaps shut. And as it snaps shut, it drags the top of the head back down. So you guys kind of a pop, pop, forward, down. And it's not much, but if you watch it at speed, it creates a rhythm to it. Versus just forward and hold. And that just, it feels so good. So as you're doing these types of motions, essentially what this is a counter motion. As the head's going up, the jaw's coming down, it holds, and then as the jaw snaps up, it drags the top down. And you get that connection between the two. And that natural rhythm that happens as well. And look at the beautiful facial poses. Look at those teeth. So good. Great tongue motion. Nice beautiful arc through it. You even get a jaw rotation. It's rotating over to the side, which is just really nice. Whenever you have big jaw motion like this, especially characters screaming, try to add a little rotation to that jaw. It adds so much to the motion. And look at how fast, once again, the lip sync moves here. We go from this really wide kind of snarl, I guess you could say, shape to it. Then it closes over one frame. Next frame, look how narrow the mouth is right there. Before it holds just a little bit. And in one frame. Why doesn't this snake have only 2 teeth? Because it's cooler when there's a whole bunch. And is really just stylization. And to be fair, I believe pythons do have a lot of teeth. If it's a viper, it would have 2 front teeth. But like an anaconda, I believe they have lots of teeth. Yeah, they have many, many teeth. So, hey, let's see here. If you look at a snake skull here, and let me share my screen. So, we're learning a little anatomy. And which one is it? There we go. So, there we go. So, yeah, lots of teeth. I wonder if I'm interested now. A viper, do they just have 2 front teeth, or I'm assuming they probably have more teeth as well? Yeah, just very, very small teeth compared to the two fangs. So, yeah, now you'll notice that they're definitely not, these are more like shark teeth versus snake teeth, which are more thin. But that's where it's animation. We can do what we want. And honestly, we've got this scene where the snake has a lot of teeth. And then, where was it? Right here. The snake has no teeth. Maybe like just two fangs right there. So it really just depends on the scene. But let's see. So we look at the what here. Very nice. I love the overlap of the body as well. Like, look at how the head drags forward and then the body catches up afterwards. Even as the head kind of comes back down, the body is still going up and catching up. It's just such a nice little detail and creates this nice counter motion. As the body's coming up, the head has this overshoot and back down. They're very good with their crowds. Everyone feels really unique. Look at that expression. You can really see one eye much more scaled than the other. Nice offset mouth shape, so it creates that line of action in the face. Even this one, like, it's pretty symmetrical, but you get one brow a little higher than the other. One side of the mouth is a little higher than the other, so it creates that contrapposto right there. And if you look at all the characters, they've all got some sort of asymmetry to the face here. This one here. She just looks interested in what's happening. So eyes asymmetrical. Even the mouth is not perfectly centered. Everyone has a little asymmetry to their face, and it just adds so much. He's really overreacting there, and he just looks very smug. It's one of those things where whenever you feel like your facial poses are boring, if ever you look at your facial pose and you go, there's something not interesting about it, the first thing to check, do you have asymmetry? If not, put it in there. Try to exaggerate that with the eye shapes, with the brows, with the mouth. From there, you start going into more of the visual appeal of the different different aspects of the face. Hey, Gatio, hey, thank you so much for the sub. It has been a while. Hope you're doing well. Being an AM and trying to have time to do other things. Yeah, that's trying to do your assignments, make sure you're not late, catch your Q&As, all of that stuff. It's doing other things in life is so easy. No, it's not. That's one thing I don't miss about being a student is those deadlines. Those deadlines were always a pain. I've just got different deadlines, which are still a pain, but not as bad, it seems. Yeah, and exactly. Some of the crowd isn't even looking like her. Not even looking at what's happening. And they're all in different kind of moments. Like, you've got two characters here that are blinking while the rest have their eyes open. It's just very nice. And then you have that one with the head turn. Look at that nice head turn right over there. The hair drags, her eyes open, she sees it, then she reacts. She's not reacting on the turn. And then I think this is my favorite one right here. Look at her. Something is happening. It looks like some sort of explosion based on the light. And she just stares, blinks, and then just looks at this guy as he's screaming. And look at this. You have this other lady here grabbing the guy's arm. Such a nice crowd moment here. And when you're first starting at a studio, this is the type of shot that you're probably going to be working on, is these crowd shots. It's not a very complex thing, but it has to be done. And are her fingers going through his arms? I don't believe so. I think they're just curled in. So she's gripping it like this. Now, it could actually be the geometry clipping through to make that pose work, but it's not like her fingers are just like disappearing into the arms that we can see. Let's see. So the next scene I want to take a look at was further ahead, and then this is probably going to be the last scene I'll be able to take a look at before I have to get going. Okay, so just looking at the snake here, like, look at that. Lots of teeth. No teeth. In one frame. Only the two front ones. So it's really just style. It's a cartoon. We can do what we want. Whatever works best for the poses. And this is where it's just exaggeration. And pushing your characters further than they should be normally. Now, actually, this wasn't the scene that I wanted to take a look at, but I just love this composition here, where you've got this character leaning in, kind of creates a line pointing to the snake. The snake's pose leads in over here. You've got this little piranha guy leaning in, and the shark leaning in this way. You see how all the lines kind of lead in right to about there. So it brings our focus right to the center of the shot, right where the snake is going to be. And that's just something very important. Whenever you're dealing with multiple characters in your shot, you want them to be posed in a way that leads the eye. If the wolf was leaning the other way, for example, and then the piranha was just straight up and down, and the shark was just straight up and down, this would not be a great composition. It would be very boring, and it would just kind of make the shot not interesting to look at. By leaning everyone in and bring our eyes to the snake, it improves that. Even the shark's eyes, the way they angled them right here, there's an angle to it, which brings our attention over to the snake. But scene I wanted to take a look at was right here. This flip here. This is just really cool. I love any stylized action, which is just makes me more excited for Spider-Verse and so many other cool shows coming out. But we've got this motion right here. Let's play through it. It's very fast. It's very short, but look how cool it is. Now, once again, this is from 165 to, let's see, 207. So 42 frames. So a little less than 2 seconds. And technically it looks like there might be a cut here. It's hard to say. We'll assume that there's no cut there. In those 42 frames, like, look how cool this shot is. It's just so, it's epic. If you take time to animate like a 42 frame shot and just capture that type of motion and that feeling, that's going to be so much better for your reel than a super long shot that's got a ton of different elements, but in the end doesn't look nearly as good. Now, what makes this feel so good? Well, one, they're breaking up the action. So they're leading with certain elements. Not everything just moves at the same time. For example, here, you feel the arms lead the action, then the body curls in, and then that drags the legs. But it drags one leg before the other. So you get this kind of lead where this leg is now kicking down and leads the action. As her head, if we look at the spacing here, it slows down. It almost comes to a stop here. As that comes to a stop, our eyes now focus on the foot, which pops over and comes through here. And you can see that nice big lead up of the action. Swoop through. So it's holding on certain parts so not everything is just moving chaotically, both sides moving super quick. The head holds, the foot moves really quick. Now the foot holds right here, the head moves a little quicker. As it goes through, now we get that lead, and then it hits this pose here, and it holds. It just holds this pose for, let's see, 72. Essentially 3 frames. 72, 73, 74. It just holds that. And then we get, once again, a lead. The head is leading down. Look at that nice, beautiful expression right there. And they get a little bit of a little motion smear right there. As the head leans down, you have the counter motion. And hey, Blaze, thank you so much for the gift. Aw, thank you so much. That's awesome. Really appreciate that. Thank you. And Teki, welcome to the subs. Welcome. That's awesome, Blaze. Thank you so much. As the head leans down, we get that counter motion of the arms coming in. So it creates this kind of pull. As the head comes down, everything is kind of getting pulled in and flowing with it, which is really cool. As it comes down, now we get a little bit more of a hold right here. So ease in. It's not a full hold. It's not like it's frozen, but it's just a little bit of an ease before we get that nice fast motion again. Once again, think of that lever example where you get a fast motion, hold, move. That's what you're getting here. Let's look at its speed. You can kind of just feel it a little bit at speed where it moves, holds, flips. And what that does is it gives more momentum and kind of a bigger explosion right here where suddenly the arms come down. Look at that arm. Beautiful smears right there. The body folds in half. The legs are still dragging though before the legs just whip out across. And once again, they hold a little bit. The spacing eases before they sweep right across. Right there. And the arc, it works, but it holds for 3, pops into another hold for 2. Yeah, which again is, it creates that, what would be the right word? It's that lever feeling where you're something sticky and then it releases it. You have the explosion of power. It holds again. It releases again. Things don't have to move linearly or ease in, ease out just smoothly. Holds in the middle can often make things feel more powerful if done correctly. You see this in a lot of anime where they're going to hold, pause, and then they're going to punch. And then it's like it pauses mid punch and then it goes the rest of the way. It adds that extra texture to things and it avoids things feeling boring and smooth. Not that those types of motions can't be interesting, but it just adds spice to it. And we don't want to over abuse it. If we're doing that all the time, then it creates stilted feelings where everything's just going it doesn't feel interesting. So you have to save it. And we get this nice right into the face, into this run here. You get that once again. Hold right at the top. This is basically a bouncing ball. Very exaggerated. This is just the hold. And as it comes down, we start with the feet coming out. A little bit of that arm coming out. The hips leading the action. The legs kick down. And it drags the whole character down. Look how fast they move through this. From the hold, which we'll say is here. So 198 to when they're on the ground here into this next hold, 202. So 4 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. And the way they make this read is that they lead with one part and then just snap it in. We can move things very quickly as long as we lead the action properly for the eyes to follow. As a student, like when I was a student, this was the hardest concept for me to learn. And I see this with a lot of students, it's one of the harder concepts to learn, is that you can move things insanely fast in animation. We look at our reference and we will often kind of lean towards our reference, but that exaggeration of timing that we can push is huge. Motions, big motions like this can happen in 4 frames, and that's totally okay as long as we break them down correctly and lead into them correctly. If you've got a character that's just frozen there and then everything starts to shift over very boringly, yeah, it's not going to work. But this is how you get your animations to that next level of pushing the timing. If all the timing feels the same and very realistic, it's not bad, but it's not visually appealing. Something like this, you just look at the motion and it's just, you go, ooh, oh, like it's pretty to look at. The way it moves, the way it holds, the exaggerations in that timing, that alone is so interesting. So try to do quick little tests like that. Like really, you could do a quick test where you just have a run like this, whoop, and kick, just like that. And look how much time this takes. If we just go from the run, from 187 to 207, 20 frames, less than a second. You could do a 20 frame test that has like trying to capture this dynamic timing in there. That shouldn't take very long to do. And you can try it multiple times to try and exaggerate and push your posing, push your timing, all of that. It's those types of small tests. That's where you're really going to see your animation skills grow, and you're going to understand these quick concepts much better than a long shot. Long shots, you learn different things. But when you want to try and push and exaggerate, these small tests really shine. So yeah, those were the main scenes I wanted to show here. Honestly, I'm super excited for this film. It's one of the ones I'm most excited for. That along with Spider-Verse, of course. And really one of the biggest reasons is stylistically, it just looks so fun. I want to see more of it. I want to see how they push the animation. I want to see what they do with this film. So I want to see more shows pushing boundaries and making creative choices, artistic choices. It's just so cool.